So when I run into rejection, I know it's only redirection. I see the blessings right beside me. It's just as important and likely. I do it like I'm in my Nikes. Don't make excuses, they never excite me. Boxes, boxes, I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop it, stop it. Quitting was never an option. Exhausted, exhausted. This passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it. Nah, you cannot stop it.
Good morning, Knicks universe. Welcome back to another episode of the Knicks Morning Brew on this Monday, March 18th. Like always, I'm your guy, Hector, hanging out and rocking out today with my guy, Mr. Phil, all caps, man. Mano, how are you feeling this morning, big fella?
Bro, I'm doing good. Well, kind of. My computer stopped charging and just let me know that it's not charging anymore. So I'm kind of like backstage freaking out, trying to figure out what's going on. But besides that, doing good. You know, I unmuted my mic. Our Knicks played the other day. They looked good. There's very promising things. So I want to address the elephant in the room. In the center, there's, you know, that fire graphic that I made. However, it's not my brother, real brother, your brother. You know, he's not here. Jigga's not here. Celso's not here today. If you guys can, please keep our guy Derek and his family in your prayers. Derek has been family to us pretty much since, you know, end of middle school, early high school years. Just had major life-altering surgery. So Celso is with him right now in the hospital in South Florida, being by his side as the brother that he is. So please keep Derek lifted up in your prayers. And Celso as he travels back and forth to make sure that everything's good with Derek. So that's why he's not here today. But I'm looking forward to it, man. We get to rock out with someone that, you know, has been pretty much all over reality TV. But he's also a diehard Knick.
Big time.
With reality TV, you never know what's real and what's fake. However,
that's a fact.
Guy, you know his fandom is real. And that's one thing that, you know, I love about our guest Puma today. So without further ado, let's bring up Puma, because if my computer dies, at least you guys can chop it up while I fix it.
Puma, how are you doing, my guy? Good morning.
Good morning. Don't worry, your computer. We're gonna make it through, man. Positive energy. You know what I'm saying?
Positive energy. Nah, but Puma, again, thank you so much for joining us over here. I know Celso reached out, and you know he feels bad that he can't be here, but you know real life happens, and you gotta be able to handle real life situation when that show up.
Powers and prayers to the family out there. Derek, man, hope you get better. You know, Celso, travel safely. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad just to be here, man.
Yeah, no, appreciate you. I'm gonna throw it over to Phil to lead the conversation, because when it comes to certain things like hip hop and just culture, Phil is the #1 staple for that over here in the Morning Brew Sports. So I'm gonna throw it over to Mr. Filippo. Phil, lead the convo.
Yeah, man. You know, so there's multiple things that, you know, you do that I connect with. You know, it's funny because when, you know, I look white, you know, I look as white as can be. Let's address the elephant in the room. You know, I got that extreme light-skinned Puerto Rican blood. And so all growing up, you know, everyone was like, hold up, wait, you're Puerto Rican? What? That don't make sense. I'm like, yo, it is what it is. You look at my brother, looks completely different than me. Like some people didn't think we were actually brothers growing up. But one thing that, you know, when I started getting older, moved out of the city and, you know, was living in Florida, ended up listening to different genres of music, but I've always, you know, had an affinity for like tattoo culture, like just looking at good artwork, you know? And so obviously, you know, like when I'm younger, you know, there's a lot of negative connotations that came with it, even in my own mind, you know, because it wasn't about the art back in the day. You know, there was a lot of other things attached to it, you know, when it comes to like worshiping of things, and you're like, yo, these guys are freaky. But as I got older, it wasn't like that anymore, you know, and I started to really enjoy tattoo culture when I was like 16, 17. When I was 18, got my first tattoo on my you know, when I was legally allowed to sign the paperwork, I went and got it, you know, and ended up getting fully like covered in tattoos. And this was before it hit hip hop culture, you know. So I'm here doing hip hop shows, and everyone's like, yo, this white boy devil worshiper raps, you know, like, and I'm like, yo, I'm not white. I'm not a devil worshiper. But because of the tattoos, it had a negative connotation to what I was doing. People just in the hip hop scene didn't understand it. And then all of a sudden, you got the Lil Waynes start coming out, getting fully tattooed. Chris Brown starts getting fully tattooed, and it starts to like impact hip hop culture, So how was that for you, like growing up in that, like being someone, you started a whole thing called Black Ink Crew to be like, yo, we are here. This is a staple for us. But was there that gap of like bringing tattoos into your culture? Did it have any of that negative connotation that I experienced at first of like hip hop culture and tattoos?
Well, to be honest, like, it's funny. We kind of started at the same age. I got into it around 15, 16, but I'm in the Bronx doing it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
big shout out to Tough City Tattoos. That was like my birth spot to where I really got into the tattoo culture. And I feel like they deserve more props as being the starting point of hip hop and tattoos, especially in New York City, coming together. You know what I'm saying? It really started with graffiti and tattoos. That was the really first aspect of hip hop and tattoos colliding when you had a lot of graffiti artists who needed to get money. So they started tattooing people, and some of them were really good, better than what they were expecting. And, it became something. And I remember seeing like Puffy coming to Tough City and getting tattooed, Mace. But one of the people I think that doesn't get talked about a lot, and it's so random, but one of the really big first hip hop artist tattoos that really took over the planet was Eve with the Paul Prince on her chest. Bro, I remember I was working in Tough City and seeing that happen and watching how many women were coming in to get those Paul prints.
Fire.
And it was just, that was really like the start of seeing it, the concept of people seeing a rapper with something and wanting to get that. And I watched that just grow into the Little Waynes, and now like even the style of art that people are getting, it's not just stars anymore. Like people are going and getting full Japanese sleeves now. And it's cool. You know what I mean? People are really into it now.
Yeah, like Phil said, it doesn't have that negative connotation or undertone to it no more. It's not looked at as taboo. It's a little bit, but it's really not looked at as taboo. It's more respected when it comes to the art form of it.
The art form of it,
Yeah, and you, my fault. You bring up Tough City, right, and saying that they don't get as much praises that they do, and we was backstage talking about it. I was living in Brooklyn, and I tell you, all my tattoos are from Tough City. So I used to travel from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, all the way to Fordham Road. I used to take the C train to the D train, take the D train, walk all the way down Fordham to Tough City. That's how much of a cultural impact Tough City has. And like you said, they don't get the praise or the highlights that they did. It's just like when it comes to street racing, right? The Fast and Furious. Not a lot of people know that origin story started in Hunts Point in the Bronx. The whole idea from street racing and Fast and the Furious originated from Hunts Point in the Bronx, and nobody talks about it, or it's not even mentioned in any of the movies.
Well, and it's also extremely illegal when they're still doing it low key. So, they gotta like keep it kind of still.
True.
Like
you don't want to like claim it too much to where hunting you down.
Next thing you know, they're on that little rap and catching them out there. You know what I mean?
Not, and if there's ever traffic on the Cross Bronx, we all know it's due to the street racing that happened on the Cross Bronx, right?
So shout out to everyone in the chat. Now it's a big old thing that everyone in the chat is calling me white with tattoos. This is great. Great way to start the show. Before we transition, I saw a meme the other day that cracked me up. It was this white boy getting like, Sharpie put on his face with all his like friends around him. And it was like pranks in 1990. And then it said underneath, it was the same picture and it says rappers in 2020. And I was like dying because it's like the same thing, like things that you used to like wake up after staying at a friend's house and you were like fully covered in like face tattoos technically, and you were like, what are you doing? Like that's what a lot of this like rap culture is now doing. And it's just crazy to see the giant, pendulum swing of what that is.
But it's funny because it's like that cholo kind of style. I don't know what it's like, cartoon. I don't know if a lot of people remember that whole cartoon explosion that happened. There was a moment where everybody started seeing that, and it just kept going. And it it's cool. It made a lot of money, but a lot of
Yeah.
people. It's funny like seeing people who are older now and they wish they didn't get that penis tattooed on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, there's a lot of regrets that are going on out there. But
Yeah.
want to switch topics real quick to talk about the Knicks. And Puma, where does your Knicks fandom start? Like, how far did this go back for you when it comes to talking
Whoa,
about the Knicks and stuff? Yeah, I know,
man.
hard-hitting question right off the top. And on top of it,
Yeah.
we got 162 people rocking out with us right now.
Shout
If you
out to
guys
them.
in the building, please smack that like button and hit that subscribe button. We are at 3,889 subscribers on our way to 4K. So if you guys can help us out, smack the subscribe button and support your boys. But go ahead, Puma. Let the people know how far this go back for you, my guy.
Man, so being in the Bronx, on Valentine Ave, you know what I'm saying? RIP my cousin Lance, you know what I'm saying? He was the person when I was a kid, little kid, I'm gonna say like 8, 9 years old, and told me, you're from New York, so you have to like everything New York. So you gotta like the Yankees, you gotta like the Giants, and you gotta like the Knicks, because you're from New York. And I just took it as okay. And then I was born on 161st Street in Melrose, so
Copy. Yeah.
the Yankees were the inevitable. You know what I'm saying? Like my 4th of July's used to be in that park watching the fireworks from the old stadium. You know what I'm saying? Like I went to the old stadium and the new stadium, so Yankees are very special to me. Giants. The Eli moment was cool. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I remember when we won that Super Bowl. That was good. But the Knicks are my heart. You know what I'm saying? I have been through the Isaiah Thomas era. Oh, rough times. I went through the whole Chris Childs and Mellows and the Patrick Ewings and the Oakley times. Like I've been through the eras, you know what I mean? The good times, the bad times, and the oh my God, we are wearing paper bags and MSG times.
Yeah.
So to see this team right now, this is like I've never had, honestly, throughout my history of watching the Knicks, I've never seen us have a better point guard ever. Ever in the history, as like maybe the other people who saw Walt Clyde styling and profiling, but I never saw that. You know what I'm saying? So Jalen Brunson is legit the best point guard I've ever seen as a Knick.
Yeah.
Like Derek Harper was good, Chris Childs had his moments, but nah, Jalen Brunson is amazing.
Yeah.
This team is it. Like I be at home screaming. Like my wife be looking at me like, "Who's Precious? And why you keep yelling?" And I'm like, "Oh shit!" You know what I mean? I'm like, "Let's go, Precious. That's my mom. Come on, Precious." And she be looking at me like, "Precious? What the hell is that?" So I'm just a diehard, bro, from the
that's
90s
funny.
all the way through.
So it's safe to say that our guy Puma, he's not one of these bandwagon, just celebrity fans that the Knicks are cool and now he's a Knicks fan. He went back to the paper bags, and I remember that because it was a petition going around on Facebook for every Knicks fan to show up to Madison Square Garden and to boycott them and they paper bags. And what happened? They hired Phil Jackson literally the next day after that petition went out.
That was horrible. We're not going to talk about that either. You know what I mean? We're in good times now. You know what I'm saying? It was rough. It was rough.
It's funny because we talk about Jalen Brunson, being the best point guard we can think about. And on the trajectory of point guards, the closest of a star-studded point guard that we had was Stephon Marbury. Marbury was
Marbury. Okay, and Marbury. Forgot about Marbury. Yes.
But the thing about Marbury is the game was different. Like the game looked different. At the time of Marbury, it wasn't an elite three-pointing, shooting kind of league. So numbers are drastically, obviously going to be different. You have, Jalen Brunson putting up these astronomical 40-point games. First Knicks since Melo to do back-to-back 40-point games in this last one, so he's going to reach feats that Stephon Marbury never did. And as much as I love Marbury, and I rock my Marbury jersey with pride, there's things that Jalen Brunson does as a small point guard that make absolutely no sense. Like his footwork is by far not even just, for the Knicks, but as a point guard in general. His footwork
Amazing.
is just mind-blowing. Like the closest person I would say who can maneuver in and out of crowds like that, but it's different because he's moving in and out at like a ridiculous Speedy Gonzalez speed is Steph Curry, but Steph is doing it in a different way to get away from a defender, draw a defender away, hit the three. Jalen's doing it to maneuver into a defender,
Right.
So everything about Jalen Brunson is something that you have to tip your hat off and go, this is different. Like, this guy plays basketball different. And as someone who was short playing ball, like, the things that I was told not to do are all the things that he does at an elite level. So it's cool to just watch what he's become and what he continues to become, because there was a huge part of the fan base that didn't think that he was worth his current pay.
And I'll tell you, Puma, I was guilty as charged, right? Because we saw Jalen Brunson and what he did in the postseason. But Puma, there's been so many players that they performed well in the postseason, went into the offseason, got that bag, and was never the same. Perfect example for the Knicks was Jerome James when he shut down Shaq in the postseason with the Seattle Supersonics, and then they got the bag from the Knicks the next season. So that's a perfect example. Go ahead, Puma.
And that always happens, though, when it comes to coming to New York. Like, that's just something that happens. You get to the city, next thing you know, you're in Washington Heights, and you're at the hookah spot with the baddest Dominican girl, and then your game goes left. You know what I mean? I've seen it so many times. And I want to piggyback off something you were talking about, Brunson. There's something that Brunson does that, holy shit, man, doesn't get enough credit. I've never seen a superstar take as many charges in my life. My man be sacrificing his body, throwing himself in front of full speed, fast break, and he just be there taking charges. I went, doesn't he lead the league in charge taken?
Yeah,
he's like second or something like that in charge.
No, he's leading. He's number one in the league when it comes to charges taken.
You've never seen a superstar sacrifice their body like that constantly. Like, he legit catches at least one charge a game. And
not just that, Puma. And I'll throw it over to Phil to add on to the point. But the one critique a lot of people have about Jalen Brunson is his defense, right? That's the one thing we could say, that Jalen Brunson, he may be a little bit suspect on that on the defensive end, but he recognizes that. And to your point, he goes out there and draw the charges. He's like, I may not be the best one-on-one defender, but I'm gonna pick up that, and I'm gonna take that charge and do what's best for the team. And what's best for the team is sacrificing your body and hitting that floor. I just get nervous, and I know a lot of Knicks fans do. I get nervous every time I see him hit the deck, bro.
He be hitting the floor, and then he look at the ref for what it is, and I'm just like, please just be okay, brother. Him and OG right now, OG, and they be making me nervous every time they hit the floor, man.
Oh yeah. And here's one thing that, like, so two things that you guys talked about. First, the defense thing. I still think that's a narrative that people are refusing to update their take on, because taking a charge is defense. Like, at the end of the day, like, when you look at a lot of other people that lead the numbers or their teams, they're not players that you can, like, go without. Like a lot of these players are role players that if something happens to them, it's like, all right, no big deal. But this is our guy who's willing to stand in front of anybody, and he always has a black eye. I don't understand it. The one NBA player that looks like he's an MMA fighter every single night, walking around with a black eye all season, because he's willing to take whatever contact needs to happen. That's part of defense. A charge is part of defense. On top of that, look at all the plays where, even in this last game, transition passes that they try to make. It was Jalen's little arms that would just nip it just a little bit. That's defense. Yes, he might not be the best one-on-one defender, but for people to say he's not a good defender, you're taking every other aspect of defense away and just focusing on the one-on-one, like transition, from one hand to the next hand. That's all defense. And he does those things well, and he puts in the effort. That's the huge difference with a lot of people that are bad defenders. You look at Evan Fournier. Evan Fournier was a bad defender.
Terrible.
But he just pretty much just watched people go by. It was like he was constantly confused. Jalen Brunson's at least giving 100% all play.
Yeah.
Even if he gets blown by, he's trying to catch back up. Like, he does not give up. He is a good defender. He's not a great defender. There's a huge difference. So
yeah, and I
that's
just want to
what
correct. I just want to correct that stat. Jalen Brunson is second behind Golden State Palmendisky or whatever it is, but it's literally just by like a couple of points off. So Jalen Brunson is neck and neck with him. But to piggyback off of what both of you guys were saying, that sets it up so it's like the 15 man on the bench. There's no excuse. If the star player is taking charges like that and he's giving out all the effort in the world, if you're the 15th person on the roster, there should be no excuse why you're not hustling the same way. And that's how Jalen Brunson, it's the difference. He leads by example. Boom. It's like Derek Jeter, for instance, right? You're a Yankee fan. I'm a Yankee fan. It's like Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter busted out the box every time he was at the plate and every time he was running up that first baseline. So there was no excuse that any other player didn't do the same thing like the captain and leader.
And you actually could see that already happening as you look at Deuce McBride's play. You know what I mean? Deuce plays great defense. He hustles hard, you know what I'm saying? Because he's seeing his star player put in that effort. You know what I mean? So yes, you could definitely see that happening.
And another thing you guys talked about, which makes me go, okay, maybe there's credit that needs to be given to this coach in the front office. We are critical when we need to be critical, but we give flowers when we feel like they need to give flowers. We've talked about how many times players have come to the Knicks after showing promise somewhere else, gotten the bag, and then have been complete duds when they've gotten here. That has been the complete opposite story of this front office. Like, you look at Julius Randle. Julius Randle actually became Julius Randle in a Knicks jersey. He was not having this kind of impact or effect anywhere else. You look at Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson became the superstar in a Knicks jersey. You look at Josh Hart. So many people were like, oh, this is a stupid trade. We're getting rid of Cam Reddish. What has Cam Reddish done since that trade? He had a
and no shade to Cam, right? No shade to Cam.
I think that if in his earlier years he would have been coached and mentored better when he first got into the league, he could have evolved into something, and some of that little like attitude that he had could have been chipped away by a good coach. But at the end of the day, look at what Cam has done as opposed to what Josh Hart has become in a Knicks jersey. So if you look at Dante DiVincenzo, you know, good role player everywhere else. Now he's one of the best three-point shooters in the league, and he's in our starting lineup. So at the end of the day, you have to go, there was a very, very, very long era of Knicks players being brought over to New York and being complete trash once they got here. And now we kind of turn that over, and it's the opposite. It's players that were okay have risen to what the New York Knicks have called them and the standard that the Knicks have wanted them to be at. So I got to give credit where it's due that we are seeing a change in what happens when players come to the Knicks. And I got to salute that.
Yeah, you can see what Leon Rose and World Wide West have done. Like, they got a lot of high IQ, family-oriented players. If you really look at everybody, they're all married, kids, cool, relaxed, young players married, choked out. When you bring a young player who's single, living his best life to New York City, it doesn't always end well. You know what I'm saying? They end up partying. Like, everybody wanted Zion. Zion would have not survived here. We would have had a fat Zion. Zion would have been eating mofongo, or he would have been in Johnny's in City Island. He would have been fat as fuck. You know what I mean? Like, we would have had a problem. We would have definitely had a problem with Zion here. You know what I mean? He got the front office got good, high IQ, family-oriented players that you don't see them in the club scene. You don't see them outside. They're not on TMZ. You don't see them. And that's good. You need that. You know what I mean? Even if you remember, Porzingis got into some trouble here.
Yeah.
People forget about it. Porzingis got into some trouble out here because
what's that bar down there in Soho? I mean, that club, I forgot, that famous club that's right there off of Bowery Street. He was at that club, and it was two events that happened. The first one, they was able to brush that shit under the rug or whatever. But the second one, when his brother got spanked out there on Bowery Street, they weren't able to hide that because there was so many different cameras.
It's like I've come to see how they've been using the front office. You see, everybody is family oriented. Like, even listening to Jalen Brunson in them podcasts and Dante saying, "Yeah, I just like to go home. Yeah, I don't want to be nowhere. Send me home. I'm chilling." And you
Yeah.
It's
hear
funny.
that, you're like, "That's great." You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
need those type of players.
And I think it goes and shows you their relationship, and it goes back to Villanova, right? And to the coach they had in Villanova, because those are three, they were the stars of the team, but they went out partying, right? If you listen to that podcast, like you said, you listen to what they were doing in college, and they would just working on game footage in the gym. And that's the perfect examples if you're gonna have leaders on your team to set. That's something that our Knicks in the early 2000s, the mid 2000s, the Marburys, the Crawford, we were wilding out there in the streets, bro.
So,
Stephen Francis was out here wilding.
I'm gonna give you a great story on that, right? Reggie Miller's last game in MSG, right? Now I remember I didn't want to watch the game. I didn't care for it, but I went to Sue's Rendezvous that night.
Oh, I know Sue's.
And I remember I'm in there and I see Stephon Marbury come in, right? And it's like, oh shit, they go Marbury. And remember how Sue's was, they had that big screen right by the VIP. So the highlights are on. And I'm like, oh shit, the Knicks game came on. Let me look at the highlights. See, getting cooked. And I looked at Marbury and I just shook my head at him. And he looked at me. Like, you know, when you see, he saw me looking at the highlights because I was like into it. And then I looked at him, he looked at me, and I just shook my head, and he put his head down, and I'm like, yo, man, in the club, though. Look at you. You're in the club, though. You know what I mean? You should have been practicing more, you know?
Yeah.
But, hey, that's how it goes. That's why I love this team, bro. Like, you don't see them nowhere. You don't hear about them in no trouble.
No.
They're just playing ball, bullies out there. It's great.
And like Phil brought up the front office, and Phil brought up the head coach. If you look at it, the New York Knicks as a franchise, in the history of their franchise, we've had 31 different head coaches, right? Over the past 24 years, since 2000, we've had 10 different head coaches. Just let that sit in your head.
Right.
This team has been around more than 50 years, and in this 50 years, we've had 31 different head coaches, but in the past 24 years, we've had 10 to 12 different head coaches. The level of consistency, and that's a word we've thrown out here a lot, that we see now with this New York Knicks team, right? When you look at the front office, when you look at the head coach, the relationship that Jalen Brunson and Tom Thibodeau have, everybody kept saying for before Jalen Brunson came here and solidified his spot, that Tom Thibodeau's not going to go anywhere because Julius Randle is his guy, and Julius Randle will never let his guy get fired. But when you look at it, it's totally different, because the real factor is Jalen Brunson and Tom Thibodeau, they have a relationship that goes back to when Jalen Brunson was a child. Right. Rick Brunson and Tom Thibodeau, they know each other since Rick Brunson was playing in high school for Salem High School, and Tom Thibodeau was at Boston University or Boston College, whatever it was one. That's how far this goes back.
Even when he was on the Knicks, right? With
when he was on the Knicks, when he was a part of the Rick Brunson was a player. Yeah, he was on he was on Van Gundy's staff while Rick Brunson was a player. So relationship, it has some time. That's what I'm saying. Tom Thibodeau, I know there's some stuff we could criticize him for, right, Poom? I've criticized him. Phil's criticized him. I know you criticized him as well. The rotations in game decisions.
The rotations and in-game decisions, like, he doesn't make adjustments in certain situations where it's like, bro, like there was a play, the one where Precious took the three for the game. Why the hell wasn't Bojan in the game at that moment? That should have been an adjustment, Tibbs. It'd be little.
It's just little. It's just little thing. But Tibbs has shown you something this year that an old dog is trying to learn new tricks. On Dios in the chat says, Coach Tibbs can smack JB. That's the power in the relationship that they have. Absolutely, on Dios. It's like
But also, if you really listen to Rick Brunson, Rick be telling him he's trash all the time. Like, I believe in my heart, I believe that Rick Brunson told he told him Fox is better than you before that game. I swear to you, because if you look at how he was gunning at Fox, like he was going at him. I'm like, nah, Rick Brunson put some heat in him. Like, you could tell he be messing with him. Like, yo, you're trash. You ain't shit.
If you remember the 3-point contest, and I'll throw it over to Phil after this, when Jalen Brunson on the podcast was saying there was somebody in the crowd that kept saying, I'm a bum, I suck. And I look, and it's my pops who's telling me that.
I'm telling you. And you could tell the way, like, that game against Sacramento, he had a little bit of extra oomph going into that game. And it didn't make, like, I don't understand what it was, but yeah, Yeah, I think Rick Brunson be telling him like, "Yo, he's better than you. You're trash."
Yeah,
And
I just
gets
want
him
to shout
fired
out
up.
shout out another great group of content creators. Shout out to the Nick of Time show. I got Jay Ellis, Lee
The Nick
Acevedo,
of Time
Brian
show.
Ellis, and of course the Queen Ebony herself. Jay Ellis is like, he came in with the wrong profile. He's, oops, sorry guys, I came in with the wrong one. Sorry about that. It's all good, Jay Ellis. You know you fam here, brother. But Phil, I want to throw it over to you just to switch the convo just a little bit, because with the style of play Jalen Brunson has shown us so far, there's a real chance he could make all NBA and not the second team. He has a legit chance to make the first team. I'll let you lead the conversation with that, Phil.
Yeah, you know,
Argument wise. Go ahead. Go ahead, Phil.
yeah. So one thing I want to say real quick before we get into, that topic, I do want to talk on the rotation thing. Because we have seen some changes from Tibbs in the rotation. But the frustrating part is that when you start thinking, oh, he's getting better at rotations, then he does something astronomically bad that makes you go, what? Like, it's not a bad thing to have OG shooting threes when you need a three. However, in a game where OG's elbow is obviously frustrating the hell out of him, and every single shot in front of the three is hitting the bottom front of the rim, not just the front of the rim, but the bottom front of the rim, you have to go, okay, we do have other shooters, and this is a game that Bogey was actually playing well. Like if it was 2 games ago where Bogey couldn't find the front of the rim, it would have frustrated us for Bogey, to play that. So the problem is that he makes a lot of the decisions based off of what he saw the game before, instead of what he's watching currently in that moment. And that's what we need to see change before playoffs, because playoffs is an in-the-moment situation. You can prep all you want.
And give my boy Josh Hart give him some rest. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Like, it could be, he's going to burn Josh Hart out, and we're going to need him going into the playoffs, bro. Like, I don't know if Josh is going to make it, bro. Like, he's going to be burnt out. He's going to be burnt out. I don't even want Josh to rest because I'm scared that it might bring him all the way down. He got to keep that momentum, but I don't know if he's going to make it, man. He's been playing a lot of minutes.
Well, you can tell that Josh.
I feel like he thrives off of. I feel like he thrives off of that. Like he's loving it, which is weird, but he's loving it.
No, and not just that. You could tell that Tom Thibodeau, he has all the faith in the world in Josh Hart, right? When you look at Josh Hart, since Julius Randle has been out, Josh Hart is averaging the most minutes in the NBA, almost 43 minutes per game. The last time Tom Thibodeau had a player averaging that many minutes for that period of time, it was Jimmy Butler when he was in Minnesota. To Puma's point, Jimmy Butler got hurt that season, and he that last month of the season, and they struggled to get into the postseason. But on the flip side to it, you can tell Tom Thibodeau trusts Josh Hart the same way he trusted Jimmy Butler. So at any time you would see Josh Hart on the court, whether that's with the starting unit or whether that's with the bench unit. And it's not always who starts the game, but it's who finishes the game. And 9 times out of 10, Josh Hart is in that lineup when the game is closing out, especially since in the absence of Julius Randle.
But that's what I want to see once everybody gets back, like especially at the center position. Like, what are you going to do, Tibbs, when Mitch and Ihart are there and they both are having a good game and it's the last minute? Like, who are you going to put in? You're going to think about offense, defense. Like, I'm just worried about what he's going to do with the rotation once we finally get everybody back and how he's going to focus. We have a legit 11-man rotation.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to really, you got to use
maneuver.
Those players, man. Yeah, you got to use those players, bro, because that's our strength.
But I think it's a great problem to have. Not that many teams in the NBA are going to have that issue in the next month. When we get everybody back, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, there's not that many teams that have to scratch their head and ask themselves, who do we want to have as a starting center? A guy like Isaiah Hartenstein or Mitchell Robinson? Both of them can start on at least 15 to 20 other teams in the NBA. And then when you look at Precious Achiuwa, the way he has been balling out in the absence of Julius Randle, it's given him the confidence he needs. Now Precious Achiuwa coming off the bench for a second unit, I'm scared. If you're the opposing team, you're scared that the Knicks are putting out Precious Achiuwa coming off of the bench. The Minnesota Timberwolves are the #1 team in the Western Conference. One of their big pieces they have coming off of the bench is Naz Reid, who can at least start for 15 other teams in the NBA.
Right. I can't wait to see once we get everybody back the Rikers Island lineup of Deuce, OG, and Mitch. Oh, baby, I can't wait. That's the Rikers Island lineup. That's what I can't wait to see it. You're gonna get full court press all the way up, and then you got to deal with OG in the half court, and then Mitch in the back end. Oh man, I can't wait.
Yeah, I just want to take a quick second to pause, and I'll throw it over to Phil. Right now, we got over 330 people rocking on us right now across all platforms. If you're watching us on Instagram, if you're watching us on X or Twitter, whatever they call it nowadays, click the link in the bio, jump on over to YouTube because we got 100 people in the chat on YouTube. Join the conversation and subscribe to the channel. Phil, I want to throw it over to you because I know we was talking about the All-NBA selection. You really didn't give your full take on that. So give your take on that and compare Jalen Brunson to the other point guards that are in the Eastern Conference. Go ahead, bro.
So I will say this, and I've said this when it comes to, him getting MVP chance and everything like that. Look at the effect a player has on his team and on winning. Like, that's how you should really decide, who are the elites. You bring somebody in to a team that, let's say, has AD and LeBron in it, and then all of a sudden that player starts to shine. Well, of course they start to shine. Like, they're playing with AD and LeBron. You bring a player in, like, no disrespect, he's a great player, Kyrie Irving, but Kyrie, we weren't seeing in Brooklyn what we're seeing from him now in Dallas. And the reason is he's playing alongside Luka Doncic, which is one of the best players in the league. So you have to look and go, okay, not only is Jalen Brunson one of the most elite point guards in the NBA right now, but he's doing it as the best player in a New York Knicks uniform. Mm-hmm. There is no one else that they come out, and so many people would be like, oh yeah, but Julius draws the charge. Julius hasn't been here for months. And Jalen Brunson has risen and proven that he's still the best point guard in the East. And so for me, there is no denying that he deserves All-NBA, because you have to give the credentials based on what that person can do for his organization and what he does to the league. There is not a single player that has played against Jalen Brunson, unless Jalen Brunson had one of those nights where he was like, I was absolute basura, and that's why we sucked. Like, that's happened like 4 times this year. But every other time, who are the coaches talking about? Look at it in this last game. All they're doing is talking about how freaking good Brunson is. You talk to the players. Sabonis is like, he's just an elite talent. Like, you have the elite talents of the league talking about they lose because he's an elite talent. So when you have that kind of like potential as a player, it would be highway robbery to not put him on an All-NBA like team. It just doesn't make sense. When everybody else that deserves to be on an All-NBA team is saying that he's the reason they struggled, that says something.
It's all about how they do it, because like we gotta call it for what it is. It's Shai Gilgeous right now, and it's Luka. You know what I'm saying? Shai Gilgeous, Luka. Those are the two right now. Tyrese Halliburton was hot, but he got real cold at the end. Game time is picking up. That 33 and 16 was not too shabby. You know what I'm saying? He's starting to, I think, get his footing in Milwaukee right now. But Brunson, he's got to be third. If all NBA, when you say all NBA, that's East and West. That's East and West. You got to put him third. He'll probably make third team, but that's if they put. But that's also if they put Shai Gilgeous at shooting guard. Like if they do two guards,
they could mix.
Luka, and they do Luka and Shai in first team, then he'll be second team. Guarantee that. Guarantee that. But if they separate them, then he might be third team.
And I think also when it comes to Luka Doncic, right? Luka, they had like last year. I'm looking at it right now. Last year they had Shea as a shooting guard, Luka as the point guard, and Jason Tatum as a small forward. But this season, when you're looking at the breakdown on the projections, they got Luka Doncic as a small forward and Shea as the point guard. So they could just move it around because
Yeah, they can move it
positionless
around.
basketball at the
Right.
end of the day. Going back to the point you talk about Kyrie. I think why Kyrie is able to do what he does now, one, Kyrie Irving is a phenomenal basketball player. That's first and foremost. But I think a lot of people said it wouldn't work out with Luka Doncic. I think Luka is a better fit with Kyrie than KD was, because when you look at it, Luka is more willing to pass the ball. Yes, he needs the ball in his hands to facilitate the offense and to get things clicking, but he's more of a willing passer than KD was, averaging more assists than KD. And when you look at Kyrie Irving, one of the best parts of his game is his ability to catch and shoot from the three-point line. So Kyrie Irving, his three-point percentage is up because his catch and shoots are up because of Luka Doncic opening up the lane for him. So there's a lot of different variables. But for Phil's point, Jalen Brunson is not playing next to an all NBA talent the same way Kyrie Irving is playing, right?
Oh, no.
Jalen Brown is playing next to Jason Tatum. No disrespect to Julius Randle, but Julius Randle and Jason Tatum, they don't even come close to each other.
Even Damian Lillard playing with Giannis.
Exactly. Yeah. So Jalen Brunson
yeah.
is the only one of those point guards that we've mentioned that is the number one option on their team. And when you look at what it means to most valuable player, right? Look at the definition of MVP, most valuable player. You take Jalen Brunson away from the New York Knicks, we're not even a playing team, Puma. And is that fair to say that?
This is fact. This is a fact, man. But I'm like Shaq, man. You got to give it to the best team with the best record, and that's Shai Gilgeous right now. You know what I mean? Like, as much as I'm a diehard Knick, that what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is doing this season, has been incredible, and I think that a lot of people don't see it because it's OKC, but he's been cooking, bro. Like, to be damn near averaging 30 a game every game, he's cooking. You know what I mean? And like, just the same way, if you take him off that team, who are they? So
the same argument I just made for Jalen Brunson, you could just copy and paste it and use that for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And like my guy Jay Ellis in the chat says, Brunson has averaged 30 points per game in the last month on efficient shooting with no Julius Randle. Shout out to my guy Jay Ellis in the chat. And again, we are at 383 people who are in the building. If you guys can, please smack the like button and hit that subscribe button. Phil, I'm going to throw it over to you because you put your finger up. But we got to talk about the Boston Celtics. Go ahead. It's St. Patty's weekend. We got to talk about the green team from the Bean Town. Very exciting.
So before we do that, yes, shout out to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Like, he's seriously a ridiculous talent. To see how he's grown, to see that there were rumors that OKC a few years ago were going to move on from him, to now see that, like, even with the star-studded like players they've drafted, he is still top of the class there. You know, that kid is ridiculous. Sometimes I forget because of how weird the mapping is for the NBA, like that OKC is an East team because like they are at that verge of probably should just move them over, you know, like on that line.
OKC's in the West. Yeah, they're in the
West. Yeah.
But the way that Oklahoma is, it's like in the middle of the I know what you mean.
Please let them stay over there.
So when I was saying that in the East, Jalen Brunson is easily the best point guard, like that still stays, you know, true.
For sure.
But before we talk about freaking Boston, which I don't even want to give them attention, you made a great point about for a long time we really wanted Zion here, you know, and that would have been an astronomical issue. You saw him struggling with the culture and lifestyle in New Orleans. And as much as New Orleans has that one street that can get crazy, like New York's got those streets everywhere. Like, you don't need beads to be crazy in New York City. So while we were talking about that topic, I decided to make a few little images real quick to share with our fans. This is what we would have had in Zion Williamson if he would have come here. All right. That would have been Zion right there. All right. Food all day, every day. Ladies all day, every day. This would have been Zion in New York. Let's
And guess
move on
what?
to
I'm not mad at it because both those combinations sound good, especially when you look at the food options in New York City. You're
Yeah.
foul for this one, Phil.
That
You're
was
foul. This
terrible.
this
That's
is
terrible.
horrible.
It's true.
That's terrible.
It's true. All
That
right.
maybe. That
That's
one
true.
possible. That's impossible.
All right,
They're not possible.
just a
They're not
disclaimer.
possible.
Just a disclaimer. The views and opinions that have been shared on this show, it's all from Phil. It's not from Puma, and it's not from me. I just want to put that out
Thank
there.
you. Thank you for the disclaimer.
I'll take it. I'll take it. So if you guys can, up in that top right, you will see Eddie's not here to do the begging, so I'll just point this out. YouTube takes a huge chunk of our money. As much as we're thankful for the platform, they like to take a big percentage of anyone who donates or anyone who contributes. So this up here, this little icon at the top, if you scan that with your phone, it's called Buy Me a Coffee. You're able to donate, and they only take a small percentage of what you guys do. And so that helps us keep the lights on, keep things going. I've been getting quite a few messages on Twitter and text like, yo, Phil, why are you like no longer rocking 3 days a week? Like, have you forsaken, the crew? Do you not care about the chat anymore? Like, no, I got a life. I got to pay bills. And so right now, until I'm able to, make a little that actually keeps the lights on, I got to worry about my kids eating more so than I do the Knicks, even though I would love to do this all day, every day. So your guys' constant support gets us a little bit closer to me coming back to that 3 day a week and Jigga not slaving all day, every day. So buy us a coffee. But when it comes to the Celtics, they suck.
Just so they know, right? When we did the drive, because at the beginning of like February, Puma, we did a big drive for the community. We did a big event at Madison Square Garden. Monica Mcnutt came through, but the community helped support us and help get Phil to New York and Celso to New York. Just so that everybody know, you guys helped us out tremendously, but YouTube kept over $1,000 because of the fees, right, that they charge. So if you guys want to help us out, you can just go to buymeacoffee.com, like Phil said, and we'll be able to keep as much as possible. Shout out to YouTube for the platform that they gave us, but they do take about 30% when it comes to super chats and ad revenue as well.
Yeah. And so we have about 420 people rocking with us live right now. If you guys can, if you are on Twitch, if you are on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Elon Musk's power, station, do me a favor. Head on over to YouTube. It helps us in the algorithm. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button. And it helps if you guys move on over. We appreciate wherever you're watching. If you can't make that jump, but if you can, please head on over to Twitter. But let's talk about the Celtics, because yesterday it was all green. And for those that don't know, I currently live in Tampa, Florida, and they have something called Paint the River Green, where they turn the whole river green. And like, it's a big old thing where people are whatever.
Yeah.
That's fine. The most obnoxious thing,
for
though.
Animals.
I was about to say, poor the wildlife, fuck the environment, right? We can turn the water.
It's supposedly animal friendly. You see dolphins jumping through the green water. I don't know if they're jumping to say help me or what, but they are jumping.
It's burning my skin.
Phil, we all grew up when people taught us that Orchard Beach was safe to go to, but we all know going into that water in Orchard Beach, you're coming out with an extra toe or two.
Yep. So the only thing that really drives me nuts about this whole thing is you get fans and fake fans that just want to wear a green basketball jersey, and you see a bunch of Celtics jerseys. Hey. So I was in a New York pizza spot that we love right near our neighborhood. That's like our spot. And we're there, and I'm eating with my family, and there's Giants and Yankees and, everything merch around me. And I'm like, I'm home, and I'm eating my pizza. And then I'm disgusted by this random dude just walking in all loud and obnoxious with his Celtics jersey on. And I was like, and this is a reason I cannot rock with this holiday, because of stuff like this. Like, you ruin it for all the good people out there. So I don't really care to talk about the Celtics, because I'm honestly sick of them. I really believe that if we are healthy, if OG can rest that elbow a little bit, and if Julius Randle comes back, and don't even talk about if Mitch comes back and comes off the bench, with 18 to 20 minutes a game. If we come back healthy, Boston's got some problems on their hands.
Yeah.
Boston's got some big problems on their hands.
Go ahead, Pooms. Go ahead.
Say something. They might not make it out the first round. Let's call a spade a spade. In the first round, they might have to see either Miami or Philadelphia. Were Joel Embiid back fully healthy, or you get Miami that got like Tyler Hero coming back, Jimmy, all of people. I don't know. I don't believe in this. I don't believe in Missoula. I don't believe in Missoula. I feel like when Missoula gets into pressure situations, he just lets them do them. Go, just do what you do, and then that's when they get into their ISO shit, and they're gonna get cooked. I feel like they're not gonna make it out the first round. I honestly believe that this playoff, they're gonna get bumped out the first round, and get ready for this. Denver's gonna get bumped out the first round.
That's a hot take right here. First of all, I'm marking that so I can clip it later, Puma, and I'm tagging you on.
I said it. I think that everybody's putting too much into those teams. Like Denver might have to see Dallas in the first round.
Yeah. And the way that Kyrie and Luka, you don't want to deal with that in the first round, bro.
And now that they got Gafford and Lively, they got centers that can. They beyond Jokic. They got young, agile centers. They might not make it out the first round. Boston, if they got to see Miami, they might not make it.
When you look at the landscape of how the playoffs are shaping to be when it comes to standings and stuff right now, the team that has the most pressure and expectations from them is the Boston Celtics, because the Boston Celtics, going back to Isaiah Thomas, IT being on the Boston Celtics, we've been waiting for the Celtics to make that leap and win a championship, and they haven't been able to get over that hump. Jason Tatum, right? There was an article that came out. I was talking to Dexter Henry, our guy Dex from SNY yesterday. There's an article that came out, and it shows the correlation between athletes and athletes catching COVID and the effect that it has on them after they caught COVID. And the number one person that's been affected by that has been Jason Tatum. When you look at Jason Tatum's numbers, pre-COVID, per 36 minutes, his efficiency all the way up. You look at his numbers post-COVID, his efficiency, his numbers is down. His shooting is going up, but his efficiency when it comes to his stats are going down. And when you look at the report, the correlation is due because of stamina. When you look at Jason Tatum, a lot of his shots are due now to stamina not being the same that it once was before. It could be a bunch of factors that go into it. One could be age. He's a lot older than he was back in 2019 and 2020. He's 4 to 5 years more older. So there's different correlations. But I bring this up to say when it comes to Joe Mazzulla, Puma, you mentioned how you're a baseball fan. When you look at analytics, right, there hasn't been a team that's been be able to become a dynasty off of analytics. When you look at Joe Mazzulla, a lot of the nerds love Joe Mazzulla because his defensive analytics, they go nuts for it. But does that translate in the postseason? That's the question that the Boston Celtics and Joe Mazzulla is going to have to answer. Go ahead.
I want to see what they have to deal with Miami. Like when Miami that has beaten them how many times in the past like years, and they know they have your number. Like Jimmy Butler knows, like he's gonna bully them. Bam is gonna bully you. I want to see it. That like the only person that I can believe could change the tide for them is Drew Holiday, because we've seen him in the playoffs. He's tough. He makes clutch buckets. He plays hard defense. He may be the one changing point for them, but I don't believe in them in the first round.
Yeah,
I don't believe in them. And if they see Philly, I see Joel going ham on Porzingis. I see that, like talking to Porzingis being Joel. He's gonna go stupid. He's gonna average like 50 points a freaking game.
The barber that I had, and I forgot to tell you, Phil, the barber that I had when I went to that barber club or whatever in St. Pete, the barber was a Celtics fan, and he was asking me, he was like, "Yo, I know you're a Knicks fan, but when I ask you, do you think KP is gonna last into the postseason?" And I'm like, honestly, in New York, we always used to joke about how Kristaps Porzingis, his legs was like Q-tips. That's the one thing you got to worry about KP is his bottom half. To start the season, KP was looking phenomenal. But as the wear and tear of an 82-game season wears on your body, you see it from Kristaps Porzingis not being able to stand up and be able to go through that for 82 games. And without being a lot older, he can't come in and substitute for KP like he would have been able to do 5 years ago. Al Horford, he's about to hit 40. I mean, he's been playing ever since when he came into the league, I was in high school. And it's been a while since I graduated high school.
Right. Yeah. And you mentioned the player. I want to give a shout out. Shout out to Isaiah Thomas.
Yes.
I am so happy for him, man. And if he plays good, man, they might be a team to watch. You know what I'm saying? But big shout out to Isaiah Thomas, man. I'm really happy for him. I'm glad that he made it back.
Go ahead, Phil.
So when it comes to the playoffs, that's a bold statement about the Celtics, because they have been so consistent through the year. But I will say, I don't necessarily think the Heat will pull it off against them if they meet, because I feel like when it comes to Boston, like there's been, I mean, when it comes to the Heat, I feel like there's been more disappointment on players than, rising to expectations. Like Hero goes from, oh crap, Hero's killing it, to Hero's trash for the last month.
Yeah.
So it's like you never know what's going to happen there. So with them, it's like if you get, and you saw it with us, if you get to where Jimmy Butler, like struggles in a game or two, like it can rock that Heat, organization in the playoffs. I do believe if Joel Embiid comes back, that's a different story, because Joel Embiid is going to, if he comes back healthy, he's going to come with a chip on his shoulder, like that he's had to miss this much of the season. He's also going to want to play for his guys because they held him up while he was down. Like instead of completely falling in the rankings, like everyone expected them to be, a play-in team, if that, they've done everything they've could to stick around. I think he's going to come back with something to prove. People keep on saying that he's a bust in the playoffs, I think he's going to come back different. And I think that they would be able to beat the Celtics. However, when it comes to the West, like if you're looking at it, they end up playing whoever wins, the play-in as of right now. And the teams in the play-in, the only team in the play-in that I really think can give them a run for their money would be the Suns. And that would be if we see playoff Durant. Not the Durant that we've seen on and off throughout this season, or the Booker that we've seen on and off this season, where we're like, holy crap, we thought the Suns were going to be top 3 in the West,
And then that also means if Isaiah Thomas does anything. Like if Isaiah Thomas can play somewhat elite basketball, and you put Beal on the bench.
Especially if you have IT coming off of the bench as a 6-man option. I think that would be the best spot for him.
I would have Beal coming off the bench as a 6-man option. That's guaranteed buckets.
If we were just playing one-on-one and we just needed to win the game, I see what you're saying. But when it comes to the money, I don't think that owner for the Phoenix Suns, who is a very stingy owner, is going to want to pay Bradley Beal $40 to $45 million to come off the bench. I just think from the money aspect, Bill would start. But if it's just on basketball, and if we had to win a basketball game, I'm right with you there, Puma.
And there's a great point by Eric Gonzalez here, because it would seriously, if it was a one game, it's a different thing. Even with the Suns, because one game, Durant, Beal, Booker, they could just Thomas, they can have a scoring clinic, and blow a team out of the water. But those guys don't know defense, in any way, shape, or form, like elite defense. You look at Denver, they are battle tested through the last few years in the playoffs. And they play both sides of the court. They play offense and they can play defense. So I think in a 7-game series, even them will struggle to do anything with Denver, because how many games can you really just shoot the lights out on another team? A team that's going to guard you pretty well. So I don't know. I don't see many people knocking Denver out in the first round.
I just want to. My fault. I just want to ask you, Puma, real quick, just because it's 12. Are you good to rock out for another 15 minutes? I love the conversation. I just want to respect your time, brother. All right, copy. Go ahead, bro.
I don't want to sound like Stephen A. Smith and ESPN, but what about the Lakers?
I was just going, but
I hate to sound like them, but
if you look.
It's LeBron James,
If you look, and this is what I was about to bring up. Thank you for setting me up perfectly, Puma. If you look at the Western Conference, when you look at that play-in, the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th seed, you got the Dallas Mavericks, you got the Phoenix Suns, you got the Golden State Warriors, and you got the LA Lakers. Those are all 4 teams that have well-respected veterans, guys who's been in the league, who's won championship on each one of those teams. And at any moment, Dallas, if they get hot, they can definitely knock off a OKC who's never been there. They could definitely knock off a Minnesota team who's never been there, right? When you look at the Phoenix Suns, the same thing. Golden State, don't never sleep on Golden State. I know Curry, Steph, Clay, and Draymond is a little bit older, but you always got to respect the older vets that's been there and done it. And same thing when it comes to the head coach and Steve Kerr. And then you got the Lakers. When it comes to that, LeBron James, he's going to find the fountain of youth. He's going to find that Space Jam water that he's going to have to drink at the beginning of the postseason and get that extra bit of energy to make it through.
This is my thoughts on the Lakers. This is my thoughts on the Lakers.
The views and expressions that were just shared right now is from Puma and Puma only.
Here's the thing on the Lakers, my guys. All right. There's way too many good teams that the Lakers have to get through to even make it to that. You know, like they would need, like, at the end of the day, Golden State is not the Golden State of years before. However, Steph Curry, like, is one of those guys that, like, is going to play all out for 7 games. You know, he's just going to do it. And I feel like they will give the Lakers a hard time. And if not them, the Lakers then play, you know, either the Mavericks or the Suns. And there you go again. It's another battle tested of, like, if you want to be honest, like, LeBron can still defend decently, but you can tell in his old age that he uses most of the energy that he still has to bring it offensively, you know, whether it's, you know, playmaking or, you know, dunking or jumpers, you know, he uses most of that energy that he has offensively.
If you really honestly watch, he plays hard in the first. He takes off the second and third. He definitely takes off the third quarter. Like, if you watch him play, he usually is, sometimes he'll play the third, but sometimes he takes it off. And in the fourth quarter, he goes off. And I'm like, yo, he's really figured out his levels through the quarters. Like, if you watch him, he'll just chill.
It's good for him. But come playoff time, when you're playing other teams that have players that are young enough to play all 4 quarters at that level, like, you can't go up against a Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, you know, where they can play all 4 quarters like that. And then you go, all right, I'm going to take these 2 off, you know, like, not, you know, they don't have enough off of their bench, you know, like Austin Reeves is good, but he's not enough to, like, you know, take off 2 quarters against a team like that in a 7-game series, you know, same thing with the Suns. Kevin Durant's going to score all 4 quarters. Like, so you can't be like, all right, Durant, I'm going to play you in that first and that fourth. Well, in those 2 quarters, you're going to get annihilated, you know, that you take off. So I don't know. I think the Lakers, I honestly don't see them getting past the second round of the play-in tournament, if they even get past the first round of the play-in tournament.
Right. All right. Oh, my fault.
No, I'm gonna say, I've been joking around with my friends in a group chat for the longest. Austin Reeves is the NBA version of Catch Me Outside. That's all what Austin Reeves is. He's mediocrity that gets uplifted just because he's on the Lakers. Go ahead, Poom.
I with the Knicks, I feel really good about us. Like, it's looking like we're probably gonna play Orlando in the first round, which is a nice gentleman's sweep. That's a good gentleman's sweep. I see that happening. You know what I mean? The second round is where it gets a little tricky, you know what I'm saying? But it's also depending on the seedings and how we end up. Because I don't know, for some reason, I feel like we might catch that 3rd spot. We might.
Well, when you look at the standings, right, to your point, Milwaukee has overpassed Cleveland for the 2nd spot. Cleveland has fallen off. Right. Cleveland was the darling of the NBA just about 2 weeks ago when they were the 2nd seed in the NBA. Milwaukee's figured it out with Dame Lillard, the new head coach. Shout out to Patrick Beverley, who has stepped up their defense tremendously. Last year when they had Drew Holiday, they were a top 3 defensive team in the NBA. This year with Dame Lillard, they're a bottom 5 team. Ever since adding Patrick Beverley to come off of the bench, they're a top 10 defensive team. Go ahead, Poom. My fault for cutting you off.
So that's what I'm worried about, that second round, because it's all depending on where our seeding is. If we're in that 4th, 5th, we get home court with Orlando. I feel good about that first round, but that next one, like the Pacers, I don't know. I don't know about the Pacers. They're an odd ass team, man. Like, the Pacers are odd as hell. because you see them one time and they're running, then you see them another time and they're just trash. Like you're like, oh, we can
Yeah.
beat them easily, but it's like they're another hit or miss team, man. Like
Mhm.
I don't know if I want to see them in the first round, but at the same time, I feel confident. But
Yeah.
it's like I don't know. Like I don't know. That's
If
one
you
of those
have to,
teams.
if you're able to slow down Indiana so they don't play their game, right? You can beat Indiana, right? In the
Right.
playoffs, we know defense steps up and you see more defense in the postseason. We've never seen the style of play that Indiana does. It goes back to the same way that Steve Nash used to play with the
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix Suns. That style of basketball has never won a championship. So
Right.
we're seeing right now in 2024, if Indiana could be that first team that has that style and can it translate into the postseason. Right now, we got 500 people rocking with us right now. Shout out to one of the best chats that are out there in the entire YouTube space. If you guys
chat.
can, please smack the like button. Let's get this stream to 100 likes. We're sitting on 60 likes right now. And when it comes to the subscribers, we are at 3,898. We are 2 away from 3,900. Help us out. We got Puma here from Black Ink. Shout out our guy Puma. Hit the subby wubbies for our guy Puma. Go ahead, Phil.
Forget that. There's 497. Well, now 499, 500. So it's climbing. All right. I don't just want to get to like 3,900. Like, hit a retweet, post it on Instagram. I want to get to 4K. Like, let's do it. Like, why can't we do that today? It's 102 people. Let's figure it out. There's 500 of you in here. I bet 102 of you are slackers that haven't hit the subscribe button yet. So do me a favor, fix your slacking, hit that subscribe button, and let's keep going.
Back the Mundos. Go ahead, Pooms.
Well, nah, man, and also the Clippers. What are you guys' thoughts on the Clippers? Like, what is your thoughts on the Clippers?
I'll let Phil go. Go ahead, Phil. I'll let you start off the conversation on the Clips.
The thing about the Clippers is they are one of those teams where the players on there, when they are at their best, they're like a sleeping lion. They can seriously look like they're just chilling, and you get too close and you're done. You know, like that is just the strength of what they have there. You know, you can never like take your eyes off or undermine a team that has a scorer like Paul George. Like you just can't, because it can be one of those days where, you know, he just turns it on and it's over. You know, like he can seriously roast any team offensively if he has that kind of game. And then when you have Kawhi Leonard, you can never be too confident in yourself as a team to think that he can't lock you down, because he can't. Like at any given point, they can switch him to the best scoring player on your team or the only good scoring player on your team that night. And all of a sudden your points are done because he can do that, you know? So for me, I never want to, as this era continues to get older, you know, that era of players, there are some that I can go, I'm not so worried about that guy anymore. But those two together, I'm not, you know, because you have the offense and the defense. A lot of these teams are built where you can have like full offensive capabilities, like the Suns with these older players. But the way that the Lakers are built, they can get you on both ends of the court. And they were a team that you were like a little bit suspect on how this whole Harden thing was going to work, but it fit like a glove, you know, like every other super team that Harden tried to join was a complete dumpster fire. So you expected the same. And then all of a sudden everything started clicking, and you're just like, at any point in a game, you have guys that can give you 30 to 40 points, you know, in their starting lineup. And then you got Russell Westbrook that can, at any given day, you know, have a game that sets him apart again, you know? So I don't know, man. I think the Clippers are going to really shock people when you have Norman Powell as a role player who can score on any given night and make you hate your life. You have way too many weapons to take them.
I feel like that about the Knicks too. Like we have at least 5 players that can give us 30. At least, right?
Yep.
We got Brunson, Dante, Julius, OG, and shit. Low-key, Bogey.
He can give you,
Yeah, and then all right, you know, I was part of the Burks Hive. I was one of those. I was part of the Burks Hive.
We ain't gonna hold it against you.
But I still feel like that last game he was looking
Mm-hmm.
a little sharper that last game.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that in his next 12, 13, he picks it up and he'll be
Yeah.
straight for the playoffs, man. Because we know Burks, man. Like we know he's able to do
Mm-hmm.
something. But his IQ these past few games, boy, he be just chucking up some bullshit, and he be just
Right.
pissing me off, man. I'm
I
glad
think
Tibbs producing and got him out of there, you
yeah.
know?
I was gonna say that shout out to Tibbs for that, because that right there, Tibbs, after the game, he said, I'm trying to win the basketball game, right? And the best decision is to have Deuce McBride there for his defense. To Puma's point, he did look a lot better in his last game. The bar is literally on the ground when it comes to Alex Burke and his performance on the court, but he did look a lot better last game than he has since coming back to the Knicks. And I think that has more to do of, if you give Alex Burks too many responsibilities, he's not going to look good as what he's doing. If he goes out there and knows that he just has to be a sharpshooter and just knock down his open shots, that's the perfect role for him. Puma, you've opened different businesses. You know, if you have one of your workers that works underneath you and you tell them, my man, do these 5 different things, right? But if they only do it at 20 or 30% of capacity, they look like a horrible worker. But if you tell that same worker, just focus on this one task and do this one thing, and if they're able to do that at 90 or 100%, they look way better than the guy trying to juggle 5 or 6 different tasks at once.
Exactly.
So,
And I think that was his problem. I think that was his problem in the beginning, though. I felt like he came to the Knicks and he had that. He saw
trying to be the backup facilitator. I'm trying to help Jalen Brunson. No Julius Randle. Tibbs know me. I gotta help this second unit. Too much pressure, responsibilities. Yeah.
Cool out, bro. You don't gotta do all that.
I'm gonna post this comment because it's hilarious. Nostalgic Nick said, Burks has been amazing, guys. Yes, he has been amazingly bad. Like I was concerned with him coming, and even my concerns, were blown out of the water because I didn't have that many concerns as I do now. This last game, shout out to him and Bogey. That was their best games as Knicks. Like their best performance where it wasn't like shot hunting. Yep. And so here's the thing about Burks is like there has to be coaching accountability. Like tell him that he is not the Burks that you had before, where you were trying to make him, Michael Jordan for the New York Knicks, running point guard when he shouldn't have been point guard. Like, let him know that your expectations of him as a coach have changed, that you want him out there for 12 to 15 points on actual good shots. Like, you're not trying to get 28-point Burks. Like, we don't need that. We don't want that. It's not efficient. It doesn't look good. Just let him play a role there.
Bogey, we don't need you to be doing too much dribbling. We see that your handles are not the greatest. Your handles are not that great. Just do what you do. Stay right there. Shoot your shot. Like, we're going to get it, man. I truly believe in us.
But shout out to Bogey, though. 35-year-old man looking like he owns the HVAC business out there still balling out with these young kids. Shout out to my guy, Bogey. Go ahead, Phil.
So Ian Begley just posted OG is out for tonight's game against Golden State, listed as out due to injury management of his right elbow. So, here's one of those things where it's
bring Precious back in, baby. It's all good.
Yeah, bring Precious back. And here's the thing: don't rush him back. Like I loved seeing him out there, but after that last game where you saw him hold it, he shouldn't have been in this game. Like he should not have continued to be in that game. He should have, as soon as it was aggravated, we knew it was severe enough to have him out. As long as he was out, sit him back down. Like, do not force the guy.
Or limit his minutes. Limit his minutes. Like, you know what I mean? Limit his minutes.
Also, something that I noticed yesterday while I was setting up the stream and doing the thumbnail, I was looking at pictures from OG Anunoby before the injury. That's why I put it on the thumbnail, because I wanted to show it. If you look at it, you see on his right arm, right? He has the band on that right arm. That's the same elbow he had the surgery for. So when you look at this picture was taken before the surgery. He was already maintenance and handling that same elbow before that injury. So if this is a nagging injury when it comes to OG Anunoby, like Puma said, limit his minutes, let him rest, because yes, it's good that we got to 40 games March 18th. This is the first time I'm watching a Knicks team that we got to 40 games by this time. It's awesome to see that. but I want OG Anunoby healthy for when it matters the most. And it matters the most in the postseason and the summertime. That's when it matters the most. Not March 16th against March 15th against the Portland Trailblazers. It doesn't matter against the Portland Trailblazers. He should have sat for the rest of that game, but let him rest up. I still have faith that our team could go out, like Puma said, bring in Precious, because Precious is a good backup option to have coming off of that bench. Pooms, it's 12:15. Want to respect your time.
I'm gonna head out now.
Yeah, gotta let you go. Let the people know, if they don't know, where they can follow you, and also if there's anything that you're doing outside of the tattoo world, let them know whatever movements you got, whatever podcast, anything you're doing, brother.
Well, definitely, I want to shout out to all my Nick stoners. This 420, I am dropping my official strands. I'm dropping 2 pre-rolls legally. This is not going to be some shit you're going to have out in the streets. No, this is going to be in every dispensary across New York State. It's going to be really awesome. If you guys are in the New York State area, please come check me out. I'm going to be at Gotham Buds on 125th Street. We're going to be dropping pre-rolls. It's going to be dope. Pull up. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, Puma213 on TikTok and Twitch, Puma213. If you play Call of Duty, I'm outside on Twitch, you know what I'm saying? Pull up, shout out all my Call of Duty players, and shout out to the Knicks. We're going to get this win tonight. I'm feeling confident, even though OG is out. My boy Precious going to come in. I'm seeing another 40-point game from Brunson. I see it, baby. 3 in a row. Let's go.
Boom. Appreciate you. And when you download Helldivers 2, you send me your PS5 or your Xbox login so we can link up on the late night. All right, bro. I'm telling you, it's a dope game. I was skeptical to play it. It's dope, bro. It's like, you ever watched the movie Starship Troopers?
That's all I've been hearing. Yes.
That's like, exactly what it is. It's Starship Troopers and Call of Duty put together. So you'll love it, bro. Again, thank you so much.
Before we let you go, shout out to our guy, CT Pittman. We put out a poll where we asked people, hey, who do you want to see on the show? And he hit you up, so we appreciate you. We are going to be doing some parties, watch parties during first round, second round, third round of the playoffs. We need you to come kick it with us.
We love to link up, bro.
Send me the location.
All right, drinks are on us. We got you, my guy.
Say less.
Drinks on us, Booms.
Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
That was our guy, Mr. Puma from Black Ink. That was a good comment. Hold on, let me just move this. That was a great conversation. Honestly, I kept looking at the time, and I'm upset that the time kept going because, one, not only is he a Knicks fan, but he's very knowledgeable of the NBA, right? Normally, when you have a guest, it's either one or the other. They're a diehard Knicks fan, but not knowledgeable about the sport. So shout out to our guy, Puma, and the BX is in the building, baby.
Yeah, no, it was great. Like being able to put
thank you, CT personality. Also.
Appreciate you. Like putting an actual personality to someone that you've seen, through, a different lens is really, really cool to do. Being able to see someone on a screen and watch him on Black Ink or watch him, on that marriage show that he was on, like there's a difference between actually just being able to like connect with him and just have real conversation, like real down to earth. Was a pleasure. Just reminds me of someone that we would have been kicking it with at the ballpark, like hanging out, grabbing something to eat, hanging out, chilling. So appreciate Puma, appreciate CT Pittman for the, the tag and the referral of having that. But thank you to everyone in the chat. There's been 536 people throughout this episode rocking with us. That's beautiful. We thank you guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Feel free to buy a coffee. We got plans. We got a lot of plans. We got some big things coming when it comes to the playoffs. So do me a favor. If you would be interested in either joining a duck race to win a playoff ticket to be in the suite with us and our homegirls in OmniFans, please let us know if you would be interested in purchasing raffle tickets to do a duck race, because we're thinking of doing 1 or 2 duck races to give away a ticket to join us in the suite. Also, if you would be interested in buying a ticket to join us in the suite, let us know so we can make these things happen. The way that it works is we have to put down the money as soon as the dates are announced for the games. There's no payment plans, so we will be coming out of pocket. OmniFans will be coming out of pocket just so we could bring the community together for the playoffs. So if you would be interested in rocking with us at the Garden, please let us know.
And to piggyback off what Phil said, you guys know these playoff tickets, $250, $300 for an individual ticket, right? We're trying to put it together that if someone in the community, if you guys want to do the duck races, it'd be a $50 buy-in. So instead of trying to spend $250, $300 to buy your own ticket, you could put $50 to try to win one of the tickets that comes along with a great experience. We're trying to get different perks as well. Maybe we could get a picture on half court. Maybe we could get a free throw line started down there on the garden floor. We're trying to see, but community, let us know. We got over 530 people in the building. We are sitting at 3,901 subscribers, 99 away from 4K. So if you're watching us out there, if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. What are you doing with your life? And also, March 23rd, if you guys are free, shout out to my guy Nathan Ramachandra and shout out to the owner at Woodbridge Brewing Company, my guy Mihar, because they're having Charles Oakley will be in the building this Saturday, March 23rd from 2 to 4 p.m. If you're in the tri-state area, right, Woodbridge Brewing Company is a 30 to 45-minute train ride from Penn Station. It's right next to the train station. You could go to Woodbridge, get yourself some drinks, get yourself some autographs signed by Charles Oakley. It's just $59 a ticket. Make sure you guys go and do that this Saturday coming up. Phil, last words before we get out of here, brother.
Support the events that are going on. There's a lot of people trying to do big things for the community, whether it be Nathan or Frank Luna or OmniFans.
Yes.
People are trying to do big things. So support them. The more support they get, the more things they're able to do. And when Hector says stuff like you can get a ticket maybe for $250, you get in $250 in the nosebleeds, with no food, nothing. Then you're paying, $35 for a beer. We're trying to do this suite where everyone's got food included and you're able to chill, relax, beautiful seats, hang out with the community. And most of all for us, it's connecting with you guys. So please, if you're interested, let us know. If you're not watching this live and you're interested, shoot us a message on Twitter. We'd love to get your support. And before I end, please continue to lift up your thoughts and your prayers to Derek and his healing as Jigga, Celso, whatever you want to call him, that weird funny guy. That guy is sitting bedside with our guy Derek right now. So please keep Derek lifted in your prayers for a healthy recovery, that everything that needs to happen for him to, walk out of the hospital in the next 2 or 3 weeks, that he's able to do that. So please keep him lifted.
Yes.
And thank you guys so much. And until next time.
We are at 78 likes, 22 away from 100. So before you head out the door, smack that like button. And like Phil said, until next time, make sure you drink your water. Make sure you say, let's go Knicks. And like always, doses.